All right, here we are. Hopefully this is going to be the good one. My name is Weston Hughes. Today I'm going to be practicing my skills by reading a book that was written by Kenneth Anger, a very controversial figure while he was alive, who passed away in the year of 2023 in his early 90s. Kenneth Anger was a very controversial filmmaker, artist, writer, poet, dancer, singer, playwright, and all-around collaborator of many personalities in the world of Hollywood and international celebrities. Kenneth Anger was somebody that also said and did controversial things that I do not personally condone and I do not support while he was alive. With that said, though, I do want to be clear that this book is written as an homage to a man who was incredibly fascinating and who inspired many artists from John Waters to Martin Scorsese himself. I want to be clear that the story that you're about to hear is going to involve some pretty dark and mature subject matters, such as murder, suicide, drug use, sexual exploitation, amongst other things. So if you are sensitive or you do not want to listen to this story, then I encourage you to stop now, because your mental health, as many people on the YouTube have gotten to tell me, is way more important than my own personal ego or satisfaction of creating this particular project. The version I will be reading from, just for clarification, was released by Simon & Schuster in 1975. In addition, while there are many things that are written down in this book that I will try to remain as accurate as possible too, I ask that you excuse any sounds you might hear that I cannot edit out while recording this video, like the bird song that is currently going on outside of my door. I don't have a professional recording studio. I'm recording on a Blue Yeti mic on my laptop in my apartment. I am not necessarily suited for this, but you know what? I still have to push on. With that said, I believe I've gotten everything I need to out of the way, and I thank you for stopping and listening to this story. Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Anger. Chapter 1. The Purple Dawn. White elephants. The god of Hollywood wanted white elephants, and white elephants he got. 8 of them. Plaster mammoths perched on mega mushroom pedestals, lording it over the colossal court of Belshazzar, the pasteboard Babylon built beside the dusty Tin Lizzy trail called Sunset Boulevard. Griffith, the movie director as God, was riding high as he'd ever go, over Illusion City, whooshing up a 100-foot-high elevator camera tower, giant megaphones poised to shout the command to the thousands below, the camera action to bring it alive. Belshazzar's feast beneath Egyptian blue skies spread out under the blazing Southern California morning sun. More than 4,000 extras recruited from LA paid an unheard of $2 a day plus box lunch plus car fare to impersonate Assyrian and Median militiamen, Babylonian dancers, Ethiopians, East Indians, Numidians, eunuchs, ladies-in-waiting to the princess beloved, handmaidens of the Babylonian temples, priests of Bel, Nergal, Marduk, and Ishtar, slaves, nobles, and subjects of Babylonia. Griffith's vision of Babylon, a mare's nest mountain of scaffolding, hanging gardens, chariot-raced ramparts, and sky-high elephants. A make-believe mirage of Mesopotamia dropped down on the sleepy huddle of mission-style bungalows amid the orange groves that made up 1915 Hollywood, portent of things to come. The purple epoch had begun, and there it stood for years, stranded like some gargantuan dream beside Sunset Boulevard. Long after Griffith's giant leap into the unknown, his sun play of the ages, Intolerance, had failed. Long after Belshazzar's court had sprouted weeds and its walls had begun to peel and warp in an abandoned movie set disarray. After the Los Angeles Fire Department had condemned it as a fire hazard, still it stood. Griffith's Babylon, something of a reproach and something of a challenge to the burgeoning movie town, something to surpass, something to live down. The shadow of Babylon had fallen over Hollywood, a serpent's spell in code cuneiform. Scandal was waiting, just out of Billy Bitzer's camera range. Hollywood, the movie colony, had been forged into existence by a small group of East Coast Jewish tradesmen who thought they saw a thing on the Nickelodeon, lured west by that fabled Southern California promise of 355 days of sunshine a year and low-priced land. The somnolent L.A. outpost in the orange groves they settled on soon sprouted ramshackle open-air stages, sun traps for their slow ortho film. In a few years of churning out primitive and profitable two-reelers with their pirated cameras, always on the lookout for Edison's vengeful process servers, the former junk dealers and glove salesmen juggled a chancy operation into a celluloid bonanza. When word reached them that Nickelodeon crowds all over the country seemed to be flocking to see favorite movie performers known only as Little Mary, the Biograph Boy, or the Vitagraph Girl, the disdained actors, until then thought of as little more than hired help, suddenly acquired ticket-selling importance. The already famous faces took on names and rapidly rising salaries. The star system, a decidedly mixed blessing, was born. For better or for worse, Hollywood would henceforth have to contend with that fatal chimera, the star. Ooh. Overnight, the obscure and somewhat disreputable movie performers found themselves propelled to adulation, fame, and fortune. They were the new royalty, golden people. Some managed to cope and took it on their stride, and, well, some did not. The teens were Hollywood's halcyon days. A new art form was being forged from day to day. The seventh muse made herself up as she went along, making money and having fun. And if the nouveau riche film folk got tired from the furious pace, there was always joy powder, as cocaine was called in those free and easy days, for a sure thing pick you up. In fact, a joy powder manic movie comedy style rapidly evolved, and the prime example being the Triangle Keystone cokey comedy The Mystery of the Leaping Fish, with Doug Fairbanks as a bombed-out-of-his-skull detective. Coke any day. In 1916, dope could be the subject of a comedy. The year of that film, The Mystery of the Leaping Fish, English drug expert Aleister Crowley passed through Hollywood taking note of the natives as the, quote, cinema crowd of cocaine-crazed sexual lunatics, end quote. Those were the days. Gossip there was, as among any group of show folk, but as yet unenshrined in the newspaper column. Luella O. Parsons had yet to set up shop. Behind the scenes, among themselves, the miniature movie colony even dared to gossip about the god of Hollywood, Griffith's obsession, on screen and off, with young female children. And were those Griffith's discoveries, those devoted, hard-working child women, really all that virginal? Was it possible? And thinking the unthinkable, was Lillian Gish Dorothy's lover? But it was harmless, really. Even the speculations about Richard Barthelmess, that's a name, posing for French postcards when he was trying to make his way, were the more solid speculations about Mack Sennett's famous bathing beauty casting couch, the original model of a long line. If some like to think of Sennett's sunshining girls, including such buds as teenage Gloria Swanson and Carol Lombard, as a hand-picked harem, why, that didn't bother Big Mac. Theda Bara was always good for a laugh. The colony knew that the fatal vamp, being sold to the rubes as a French-Arab demon of depravity born beneath the Sphinx, was in truth Theodosia Goodman, a Jewish tailor's daughter from Chillicothe, Ohio, a meek little goody two-shoes. In a few more years, as I turn the page, America's self-righteous preachers would be maligning the movie colony and all its works. Hollywood, California, became a synonym of sin. Professional do-gooders would brand Hollywood a new Babylon whose evil influence rivaled the legendary depravity of the old. Banner headlines and holier-than-thou editorials would equate sex, dope, and movie stars. Yet while the country's organized cranks screamed for blood and boycott, the public, unfazed, flocked to movies in ever-increasing multitudes. The 20s is sometimes referred to as Hollywood's golden age, and golden it was, in sheer exuberant movie-making creativity, as well as in financial returns. Film folk of the period are depicted as engaging in madcap, non-stop, off-screen capers. The legend overlooks one fact: fear. The ever-present, thrilling, erotic fear that the bottom could drop out of their gilded dreams at any time. Scandal exploded like time bombs throughout the delirious decade of wonderful nonsense, as screen career after career was destroyed. Each star wondered if it was his turn to be the next scapegoat. For Hollywood, the fabled golden age was more like a lavish picnic on a shaky precipice. The road to glory was beset with booby traps. Yet for the vast public out there, Hollywood was a magic 3 syllables invoking the wonderful world of make-believe. To the faithful, it was more than a dream factory where one young hopeful out of a million got a break. It was dreamland. Somewhere else. It was the home of the heavenly bodies, the glamour galaxy of Hollywood. The fans worshipped, but the fans could also be fickle. And if their deities proved to have feet of clay, they could be cut down without compassion. Off-screen, a new star was always waiting to make an entrance.